YouTube, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to tell you about some of the books that I have on my June TBR. And this is just a very small fraction of the books that I've set aside to read in June. There are lots of reading challenges, lots of reading groups that I want to participate in, lots of reading prompts that I want to meet. So I'm going to tell you about some of the books that I have set aside to meet some of those goals, and even some of the groups I haven't set aside any books yet. We're just going to see how the chips fall at the end of the month. One of the things that I'm doing in June is to participate in the Reading Women Read Along. This is a group that is hosted by Kendra Winchester, and I forget the name of her co-host. But they have a podcast where they focus on books that were written by women, and June being the 3rd year anniversary of their podcast launch, they're hosting a month-long readathon to focus on books that were written by women, and the prompts highlight diversity in some way. So there's a 5x5 bingo square. The middle space is free, so there are 24 reading prompts to meet. I'm not going to try to read for all 25 prompts, but I'm going to try to see if I can incorporate more books by women in my June reading, so that at the end of the month, maybe I'd have completed a line in the bingo card. We'll see. I'm not creating a specific TBR for that readathon, but just including more books and seeing how it goes. I mean, just reading more books by women is the goal. It's not really to complete a bingo card. June is also being celebrated as Caribbean Heritage Month, so there are Instagram groups that are focused on reading more books that are written by Caribbean authors, even if the books themselves are not set in the Caribbean. I myself am a Caribbean author, so if you'd like to support this Caribbean author, I'll put a link to the book that I wrote. It is on Amazon. It's called It's Complicated, Short Stories About Complicated Relationships. So if you're interested, there is a print version. There's also a Kindle version, and one of the short stories is published as a standalone, so you could read that on your Kindle. If you're not interested or you're not sure that you want to commit to reading the whole book, you can just choose one of the stories. And yeah, shameless plug over. I'm going to be reading more books by Caribbean authors, and I don't have a specific TBR created for that yet. I will create something maybe in the next few days. I will make a list of books that I have somewhere in the house that were written by Caribbean authors, and suggest some of them to you if you're participating. But I don't have a lot of books that were written by Caribbean authors that I haven't yet read, so I don't have a TBR, but I have ordered a few books. One being Stories from Harvey River, I think is what it's called, by Lorna Goodison. She's a very famous Jamaican author, and I've read books by her in the past and want to read more, so I ordered that book from Book Depository. It's going to take a while to get to me, so I know I'm not going to be reading that in the next coming weeks. But I've also ordered books by V.S. Naipaul, and I have a read-along proposed for August. I'm not going to be reading that book right now, but I do have other books by Caribbean authors somewhere around. Like I said, I'm not creating a specific TBR just yet. Just know that in my June reading plans, I'm going to be reading books by Caribbean authors in some way, even if I don't have the books yet. I'm also going to be participating in the Buzzword Readathon hosted by Kayla from Books at Lala. I absolutely love her channel, and so whenever she proposes a reading group or a readathon in some way, I want to participate. This time the buzzword is to read books that have YOU in the title. So YOU as a standalone word, or if you is included in a word like you'll or your, or even the word young. So I have 2 books on my physical TBR that I can use to participate, and I'm going to be doing that. So before I keep talking about all my reading plans, let me show you some of the books that I'm going to be reading. And it's funny because the first book that I'm going to show you is to participate in a read-along that I didn't mention before. Britta Bowler over on her channel hosts a Noble Women read-along where every month she chooses a different female winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature, and her group reads a book that was written by that author and published before the author was recognized by the Nobel group. And the book that has been selected for June is The Sweetest Dream by Doris Lessing. I got this copy from the library. I've already started reading it because today is June 3rd, and I wanted to start early because I've been wanting to participate in this read-along for a while, and some months I just can't get to it, so I wanted to get a head start. I started on June 1st. So I'm at page 62 and already really interested in this book, looking forward to participating in the reading discussion that Britta hosts. The two books that I already had on my shelf to participate in the Buzzword Readathon are Where'd You Go, Bernadette by Maria Semple and Give Me Your Hand by Megan Abbott. These are two books that have been on my physical TBR for a long time. Where'd You Go, Bernadette has appeared on my TBR many times and I've never finished reading this book. I started reading it once. I was reading it with a kid and she got disinterested and I stopped too. Really looking forward to reading these two books in June so I can get them off my TBR and decide whether these are books that I really want to own or it's time for me to pass them on to someone else. I also do blog reviews for publishers and I have 5 arcs that I got from the publisher in order to review. 3 of these are finished copies and I absolutely love the covers. 2 of them are arcs. I'll show you the finished copies first. I have Unmarriageable by Sonia Kamal. This is a Pride and Prejudice retelling in Pakistan. I have The Summer of Sunshine and Margot by Susan Mallory. This looks like the perfect beach read. It's so pretty. Then we have Valencia and Valentine by Susie Krauss, and I absolutely love this cover as well. And these are the 3 finished copies. And then I have the 2 arcs, No Place Like Here by Christina June and A Family of Strangers by Emily Richards. And these 5 arcs, these book reviews are due in June, so I'm definitely going to be reading these in June because I need to write up something on my blog. Then I have a carryover from the Asian Readathon. I didn't have it on my May TBR, but in the middle of May, I found Waiting by Hajin on my TBR shelves. And this book is set in China, so I wanted to read it in May, didn't get to it. So I'm going to try to fit it into my June reading just so I can read one more book that is set in Asia, kind of round out some of the Asian lists. Then I have 2 books that I told you guys about when I asked you to help me pick a new release for me to buy. And I came up with The Editor by Stephen Rowley, and there's a word for that by Sloan Tannen. There's another book called The Mother-in-Law, which I'd asked you guys to choose between 3 new releases, and I couldn't choose, you couldn't choose, so I decided I'm going to read all 3 of the books. These 2 I got from the library and I'm going to be reading them in June. I'm waiting for the other book to come in so I can do a 3-book review and vlog. But I have these now, so I want to read them soon before they're due back at the library. And when I've decided which of these 3 I love, then I'll buy the one that emerged as the winner. So these are 2 new releases that I'm going to be reading in June, waiting for the 3rd new release to come my way. I have 2 more books that I've been reading specifically for video ideas. I watch a lot of booktube videos. I have a lot of booktubers that I follow and I watch their videos as much as I can. Some of them are people who post all the time. One of those people is Steve Donahue, and he reads voraciously. I could never read all the books that he reads. I mean, he reads professionally. I'm making a video where I'm following some of his recommendations. So I got 2 books from the library. One is 3 Empires of the Nile. This is the Victorian Jihad from 1869 to 1899. The author is Dominic Green. And the other book is Interrogation Rooms of the Korean War. And this is by Monica Kim. This would have been perfect to read during the Asian Readathon in May, but I just didn't have time. So I'm going to be trying to read these 2 books in June because I have a video idea that I'm working on where I'm responding to Steve Donahue's recommendations. I have other books that I'm going to be reading for that video, so I don't know when you'll get that video, but I'm going to try to read these 2 before I need to take them back to the library. Other reading plans that I have in June. Yes, I'm not finished with reading goals yet, but you know that this year I'm trying to read all the books that have won the Man Booker Prize in its history. And so far this year, I've been failing. I wanted to read all the books in chronological order. I've fallen behind the schedule, which means that I have some books that I've skipped over that I need to still read. But I'm making progress slowly. But I have some books that are previous Man Booker winners that I'm looking forward to reading in June. And so I'll show you what these are. The first is the book club read that I'd selected for May, and that's Oscar and Lucinda by Peter Carey. It's not my fault. It kind of is. I reserved it from the library, but I just couldn't get it. It just wouldn't come in. So I ordered this from Book Depository. It took a while to get to me. I finally have it, so I'm going to be reading it now. This is definitely on my list to read in June, Oscar and Lucinda. Sorry if you're waiting for videos for the book club. I'm just late with all of that. Other previous Man Booker winners that I'm reading in June, Moon Tiger by Penelope Lively. This is a reread for me. I read it last year. I think I read the whole thing. I know I started it. I can't remember how it ends, so I'm not sure if I read the whole thing, but I'm definitely reading it in June. I also have Kazuo Ishiguro's Remains of the Day, which is another reread. I really enjoyed reading this last year, so I'm looking forward to rereading it and seeing what else I can get from it that I didn't quite pick up last time. And then I'm reading Milkman by Anna Burns. This is the most recent Man Booker winner. It won the 2018 prize. And I was saving this for the end of the year because it being the last of the published Man Booker books, it should be the last book that I read. But this title has also been nominated for the Women's Prize for Fiction this year. And I hear people saying that right now, based on what the shortlist is, this should be the natural winner. And I want to participate in that conversation, but I haven't read the book yet. So I'm going to see if I can read it this week just so I can see what everyone is talking about before the prize gets announced. So Milkman by Anna Burns is on my June TBR for the first week in June. And then William Golding's Rites of Passage is a Man Booker winner that I'm reading for more than one reason. I'm reading it for the challenge, but I'm also reading it because I'm participating in a year-long challenge called Pop Sugar, which is an online challenge where there are 52 prompts. And one of the prompts is to read 2 books with the same title. I found 2 books with the same title. Rites of Passage by William Golding, Rites of Passage by Joy Hensley. 2 very different kinds of books, same title. And I'm looking forward to reading that. If you want to know more about the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge, I'll put a link to my blog post where I am updating my reading progress as I read books that meet the prompts. And so that's my very extensive, very ambitious June TBR. There are probably books on this list that I will not even touch, will not even crack the spine in June, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna see how many of these books I can read in June. And at the end of the month, we'll come back to revisit this video and see how well I did with meeting my reading goals. But before I forget, there's one more book. I was doing a read along of Maya Angelou's first memoir, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. I read aloud chapters of that book here on my channel, and a lot of people said that they really enjoyed it and asked me to continue reading her memoirs because there aren't a lot of audio versions of her book. And I don't know if I'm violating anybody's rights, but reading aloud a book shouldn't be illegal, right? I'm not making any money from any of these videos, so I think it's really good. It's a good way for me to read the book, but it's also a really good way for me to share the experience with you if you don't have access to the book. There are some people who just prefer audio versions of a book. So if I can provide that as a service while I'm also enjoying a book and sharing an experience with you, I'm all for it. So we're going to be reading together Maya Angelou's second memoir, which is Gathered Together in My Name. I don't have a copy to show you right now. I reserved a copy from the library, and I also ordered a copy from Book Depository, and it hasn't gotten to me yet. So as soon as I get it, whichever copy comes first, I will start the read along. I'm hoping to read the entire book and share it here in June. So when the book comes, we'll see how we need to space out those videos, and more details will be coming on that soon. If you're new to my channel and you'd like to check out the videos where I read her first memoir, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, I'll link that playlist down below so you can check that out as well. So for now, give me a thumbs up if you like this video, subscribe if you want to see more. Let me know in the comments which book is on your June TBR you're looking forward to reading the most. And so we'll talk in the comments, and until next time, happy reading!